Welcome to Leading with Purpose, the podcast that's dedicated to helping you become the leader you aspire to be. Join us on a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and inspiration as we explore the world of leadership and personal growth. In each episode, we will explore the art and science of effective leadership, bringing you insights, stories, and strategies from experts and thought leaders across various industries. And now your hosts, Dawn Marie Bornhammer, Maisha B. Hoy, and Dr. Sharon H. Porter. Welcome to Leading with Purpose, the podcast that's dedicated to helping you become the leader you aspire to be as you lead, empower, inspire, and achieve. I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter, Editor-in-Chief of Vision and Purpose Lifestyle Magazine.
Hi, everyone. I am Maisha B. Hoy. I'm Director of Marketing and Development at Child Guidance Resource Centers, and I also manage and market Maisha's Lemonade Stand, Q-Bob.
And I'm Dawn Marie Bornhammer, Founder and Chief Impact Officer for Mission Inspired Consulting.
And we are super excited to welcome our guest for this episode. She is Ria Sethi. At just 17 years old, Ria is making waves across Silicon Valley and beyond. Inspired by her own experiences in navigating the complexities of social media and online environments, she founded Cyber for Youth, a teen-led nonprofit committed to helping young people feel safer, more confident, and more empowered online. Get ready for a powerful conversation about advocacy, digital well-being, and what it means to turn personal challenges into collective impact. Ria, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We are truly excited and cannot wait to dive in. And because I'm just going to start at only 17 and you're already leading a national movement. What first sparked your passion for digital safety?
Well, it starts actually my freshman year when I was 14. I was personally cyberbullied, like for my appearances and my address, which was publicly leaked. And that led to further in-person bullying, and it became so bad to the point where I started skipping school out of fear, and I was basically hiding from these threats. But then I noticed other students experiencing similar messages and threats, and I knew that somebody had to speak up, and it started feeling really selfish to stop. It started feeling very selfish to hide. So I went to admin and law enforcement for help. And I also tried to start a club at my school to raise awareness about these issues. But both times I was denied. And the school said there was nothing they could do. And I was really upset because this is the first time I actually spoke up about the issue. And I also knew this problem could be even worse for people who didn't have the same resources that I did as a student in a school in the Silicon Valley. And I realized we needed this awareness coming from teens, the actual people who know what it feels like growing up online and on social media. And that's what led me to start Cyber for Youth, which is now a global teen-led nonprofit aiming to educate students, parents, and the elderly on best online safety practices. And in terms of what keeps me motivated, I think it's more than just the numbers and the impact, but it's really the workshops that we lead and the ideas that we hear about from all of these diverse communities.
Wow. And, cyberbullying definitely is still, even after all these years, still prevalent in schools today. And as an elementary principal, as young as elementary students. And so I just really think as we always say, take your pain and turn it into lessons. And even more, you have created a global nonprofit. That's just amazing and commendable. So I just want to, just for individuals out there, especially educators and even young people that might be listening to this, just know that there is an end to it. We just have to speak up about it. And that's exactly, you did more than speak up. You have made a difference. So it's definitely commendable. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So, Ria, I haven't done the podcast in a couple of weeks, and I'm like, oh my God, I get the best guest to come back on. So, first, as Dr. Sharon said, thank you for all that you're doing for cyberbullying. My company, Child Guidance Resource Centers, just did an event against bullying, and that was one of the things that came up. It's so important because, and I don't want to sound diminish you, but you look like a normal teenager. How where you were targeted, and that just seems so crazy. I'm talking about people who have autism, with disabilities, and so it's crazy that this still exists in this world. So I applaud you for that. You said that you knew you wanted to speak up, you knew you wanted to do something. How is your youth, because you are young, how did the adults in the room respond to you coming to them saying you wanted to do this?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think that underrepresented groups or groups with less resources, they are very disproportionately targeted. I don't just think it's very much proven through evidence. So, yeah, I definitely think those are groups that should be talked about more in this conversation. But in terms of how adults responded, I think they were very, I guess when I first brought this issue up, they were more kind of applauding the fact that I was bringing it up, but not very much bringing much change about, especially with admin. And a lot of adults, though, that like from what I've realized and from my own experiences, do want change coming from youth, especially when it comes to the conversations that surround social media and how teens are being impacted because while adults have great resources and they have so many good like insights to offer to youth, when you are speaking to youth or to a parent, it's going to be very different in comparison to when a teenager is speaking to youth or a parent because you can get a different emotional connection that may not be able to be achieved from someone that may seem to have more power than you.
So you've been able to reach thousands, millions through your programming. Give us some tips on, is it just being your authentic self? Is it just the cause? What is the behind the global movement that you've started?
Yeah, so far we've reached over 32,000 participants through workshops within the past year and over 3 million users online. But none of that would have been possible without the teens that are behind this. We have hundreds of teens involved with creating weekly, daily blogs, social media posts, link like whether that's on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok. We have so many teens involved dedicated to making that difference and specifically through workshops, which is where we are very focused on. So how that process works is we have a team program where people can contribute more weekly, and then also an ambassador program where people that may not have as much time to be involved can participate through holding their own workshops in their communities, like bi-monthly or monthly. So that's kind of how we operate, and I think that's one of the reasons we've been able to grow. It's from that youth perspective, but also making sure that we work toward reaching these people that need to be reached. And I think that there's still so many people that need to be reached and so many stories that haven't been told yet. And that's what we hope to change and make sure that like everyone is able to share their story.
Well, I applaud you. I love the approach. I absolutely know that teens listen to teens. And I really truly believe in what you're doing. And I think you're going to be, I can't wait to see where you are next year.
Thank you.
So, Ria, we became connected via LinkedIn. I saw a mutual connection of ours that you know from Digital for Good. Celebrate you and celebrate the great work that you're doing. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with Digital for Good and perhaps how that's propelling your work forward?
Yeah, of course. So, someone from Digital for Good actually reached out to me and encouraged me to apply for this program where basically they highlight youth internationally that are trying to make an impact, a positive impact online and with online communities. And I shared my story and I got selected to be highlighted. And my experience so far has been great. Right now, we are planning to present at the Digital for Good Summit, which will be held sometime early next year in New York, sponsored by Google. And we plan to present in front of thousands of attendees and just share what we are doing with Cyber for Youth. And I'm so excited to see what the other group of students that are also being highlighted are going to share. And through Digital for Good, I've been basically given a mentor. Her name is Heidi Barker, and she has really helped me throughout this journey and elevating the voice of Cyber for Youth and what we do. So it's been a really good journey so far, and I'm so excited to see where else that will take me.
I'm so excited that you connected with Heidi. That's actually one of the two women that I know from Digital for Good. Her and I connected because of the military connection that we both have. And so just really great humans working there. I know that they pour everything into the work that they do, and they're really excited to champion you and your work. So congratulations on being selected. Definitely will take a look out for that event in early 2026. That would be a great audience to be in.
So, Ria, all of this, you really must have honed some leadership skills through all of this.
Mhm.
Can you talk through maybe a few of them that you've gained through this journey and maybe some that were very hard to develop?
Yeah, I want to start with a workshop we held for the elderly because I think that was one where I've learned a lot about leadership and how we operate our organization. But our first workshop was held for teens, actually at my school. And we prepared everything to the minute. So, roles and scripts and so many different things. And it worked flawlessly. All of the teenagers loved the workshop and were likely to recommend it to other peers. And I was like, wow, this worked perfectly. Let's just do that for our next workshop for the elderly. So we, again, prepared everything to the minute, scripts, roles, presentations, and we prepared our group of 11 teenagers to get ready to present in front of the elderly at a local senior center. And we went to the senior center, and I was super confident. We were really excited. It was our second workshop in our organization. And then when we came to the senior center, many participants couldn't follow along with what we were saying. We brought markers, and many participants couldn't pick them up because they weren't able to move their hands. Some of them were hard of hearing or seeing, and we realized that this workshop we prepared didn't belong in this room. And that was really hard for me because I felt horrible. We spent weeks preparing for this, but I knew that it wasn't right to continue with what we had. And I had to gather my group of 11 teens and tell them that this wasn't going to work and we had to adjust and we had to adapt. And I opened the floor to ideas, and so many of them had amazing ideas on how we can connect with different people. And it was absolutely amazing. And everyone stepped out of their comfort zones and were willing to take that new risk. And that's when I realized that leadership isn't just from one person. It's when the members can feel like they can lead alongside you, because that will make the big difference. And even throughout the workshop, I was kind of viewing this as a loss, but then I got to connect with an elderly member who only spoke Spanish and who was also blind. And he started telling me and another member about his love for nature. And we got to teach him about how to use voice commands on his phone to meet his family. And it was then when I realized that this was worth it and that this workshop was actually a success. And he was one of many connections that I formed that day. But I think that goes to show that leadership can look different in different situations, and that adapting is leadership basically starts when those plans end. And adapting can make such a big difference. And I think that's one of the lessons that we've brought into every workshop. It's to not expect that these plans are fully formed, but to also make sure that even if there is a leader for the workshop, that everyone else can feel like they can lead alongside you, because it can make such a unique and collaborative environment that can spark so much change. And I think that's one of the biggest stories that I've ever, I think, had with Cyber for Youth.
I absolutely love that. It's really one of my major leadership tenets: act, assess, and adjust. And I feel like if you can do those things, you in fact are a leader. And so I just again applaud you on knowing that it wasn't a loss. You saw it was going left. You had to make those provisions, and it came out as a success. Absolutely brilliant. So thank you for that.
So, Ria, before we, and I'm not sure what the time is, but I want to talk to you about this is our platform. We talk to leaders all the time, but I think your story and the message you have is so important. Can you talk about some of the root causes of cyberbullying and the other digital harms that happens to teens like yourself and others that right now could be being bullied and just don't know what to do?
Hmm. Yeah, I think like a while ago, one of my friends was asking me, like, what's the biggest form of bullying that you've seen, or like not even bullying, but online safety that you've seen with the people that you've taught. But I think the hardest part of this question is that most of these common challenges are the ones that nobody is measuring. Like,
Mm.
I don't think I can sit here and pretend that I know the exact top three issues because I don't. But from what I see through Cyber for Youth, the stuff that eats at people usually looks small from the outside. It's usually the kid that refreshes their messages over and over because they're scared of being left out, or someone that deletes a photo because they didn't get enough likes in like the first 10 minutes. And it's that constant low level anxiety of feeling like you have to be on all the time or else you disappear. And a lot of participants talk to us after workshops or when they see our posts. And what comes up a lot is that comparison and self doubt and feeling weirdly alone, even though there's so many people around you on social media. And I think one of the biggest things is that none of that gets labeled as a crisis because, I mean, most of the time, teachers may just see a student who start participating or is maybe a little bit more absent. Parents could just see a child who is always on their phone. And then when something big like self-harm or suicide does finally get talked about publicly, everyone treats that moment as the beginning. But from where I'm standing, I think that is the end of a very long story. And that's why I care so much about proactive education because if we wait until someone is at rock bottom, the internet has already shaped the way they see themselves. So we need to start earlier when it looks small and teach these teens how to set boundaries, recognize those unhealthy patterns, and be able to ask for help because prevention needs to start before the headline because if not, there will be many more.
Thank you. It's those I'm going to call it symptoms, for lack of a better word, are very similar to suicide and self harm and those thoughts of doubt. So,
Mhm.
are you also working? And I know we're speaking to teens. I heard you say that, but I'm just curious. Are you hearing from parents who also are helping you with this movement that you're creating?
Yes, I think parents are a very big aspect as to also who we are attempting to target or like talk to about this conversation because they are just as important. And most of the time, parents do want to be involved. They just don't know how. And that line is very hard. Like, how much should I tell my child to be safe on social media because I want them to be safe or online versus how much should I like make sure that I'm setting the right tools so that they're able to be safe online. I think they're a very important part of that conversation. And so what we try to tell them from our perspective of youth is just to be like mentors and be able to trust them because that trust is very important into making sure that their relationship with their devices and also with their parents are just as important.
Thank you so much for that, Ria. I hope everyone hears this and starts changing their ways after they listen to this podcast.
So, Ria, I was looking at some of the statistics that you've shared that I think follow on well to Maisha's question to you. So, I'm going to share three of them and then I have a question behind that. So, 43% of kids talk to strangers online. 1 in 3 have experienced cyberbullying, and only 10% will tell their parents when this happens. Those are jarring statistics, and I know there are many, many more of them. And to your point, not a lot of these things are being measured because they're considered micro moments, right? But the pile on of all of it, it's like the compound effect of stress becomes emotional stress. Thinking about where you see the biggest opportunity in this moment for education to help move the needle around the work that you're doing based on some of what you've learned so far.
So I think, yeah, those statistics are definitely very jarring, and there's so many more, like you said. And I think instead of looking at the satellite data, we try to look at the qualitative data. And our education doesn't really go as to we're talking at the students, but we're not talking to them either, but we're talking with them. And it's not just students, but parents, because they love conversations. Same with the students and same with educators. They love to converse with others and get their experiences heard most of the time. And that's what we try to work with through our education, as well as interactive activities when it comes to elementary schoolers with shorter attention spans. So we try to look for what does this audience thrive off of, and then we try to see what does this community thrive off of. For example, with my community, going to a high school in the Bay Area, a lot of kids are super competitive and very, very scared for what's going to happen when they go to college. And so we share that a statistic that says that 65% of college admission officers are like, think it's fair game to look at your social media profile. And a lot of their jaws just drop. And it's one of the statistics they've reported in our feedback form that has impacted the way they see their own digital footprint online, because they know that there's always going to be someone watching. But if it's someone that could affect their future, it is even more important and imperative for them to change what they're doing online. So I think that education aspect, it fluctuates from community to community because it depends on where you are and what audience you're with in order to make sure that you're driving that change.
Thank you so much for that perspective, because it makes a lot of sense that you would need to decide what people care about, right? What is the perspective that's going to move the needle? What is going to allow them to have that emotional connection to what you are sharing? And so thinking about that from the parenting perspective, from the student perspective, your example about the competitiveness for college and the pressure, the digital footprint, there are students today that will actually choose to behave very differently after hearing that statistic. And so really trying to decide what is going to shift the hearts and minds. The largest predictor of behavior change is attitudinal change. What you are leading and what you are driving is shifting the hearts and minds, which will shift behavior. And so I applaud you for that perspective and that awareness, because that's going to allow you to reach more people with your message, by not making the same thing for everybody, finding a way to reach those folks individually and collectively. Well done.
Thank you.
Ria, you have done so much, even again at 17. What are your hopes and dreams? What do you envision for Cyber for Youth in the near future?
Yeah, so right now I am currently making sure that this is a sustainable cause and coming from youth, and not from anyone old, like that's not a teenager. So as I do go on with my journey past my senior year, I am making sure that we are giving this organization off to people that aren't seniors so they can continue our message from youth, because that's a very important perspective that most organizations don't talk about when it comes to this type of education. So right now we have already handed it off to a group of juniors, but I'm involved a little bit more individually in just spreading the word as to what we're doing. But right now we are definitely focused on making this sustainable and something that can last far beyond when I'm gone.
I absolutely love that. Succession planning is critical. And so you are doing that, because as you know, you're 17 now, but these years come by fast. And as we talked about, and actually Maisha even alluded to, teens listen to teens. So I love the fact that that is top of mind for you and that you're keeping it teen first. And so as you grow older and maybe be the overseer of the organization, you probably will stand back from being the face of it. And so I think that's so important that you have that foresight to do even now by allowing the juniors to now take over. So awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sitting here with this big old smile on my face. I'm like, I was never that impressed, whatever the word is, at age 17. Ria, you are a star to even think about succession planning. There's adults who don't even think about succession planning. But in my day job, they call me the professional beggar, right? So I'm always asking people for money to help me do this thing, this thing. So I want to know, if you had unlimited resources, I could give you whatever, that $1 million check, $10 million check, what would you do? What would be the first program that you would launch?
I think the first thing that I would launch is probably a platform that can allow people to access online safety education everywhere. Right now, like, you can't really find all of the resources that you want in one place. You kind of have to look everywhere for it. There's no real platform that, like Khan Academy, like, it's definitely a platform a lot of people know for education, for courses at school. There isn't one like that for online safety education, and I think that's really important. So I think I would start with creating that, but before doing that, getting the perspectives of people from around the world, whether that's social workers or students, teenagers, parents, educators. I think that or even experts, getting that those perspectives are going to be really important to make sure that we're shaping good resources and creating like good, I would say, good interactive modules for people and that they can actually thrive off of. So I think that's something I would definitely do if I got that amount of money. And that is something we're currently working to do, but it is a lot slower because we don't have a lot of funding to really support it. So that's what we're looking for right now. But I think that's one of the biggest things I would do. And then also reaching out to communities that may not be easy to reach out for and giving them the funding that they need to make sure that they can get access to these resources and technology, because the digital divide is so big today and I don't think it's talked about enough. But if different communities can get technology and benefit from it in a positive way and learn how to do that, I think that that can make such a huge difference in even just other gaps in our world right now, such as education.
Well, world, can you hear Ria talking to you? Let's give her the resources. She can handle it. And she has proven in this 30-minute podcast. So let's give her the resources that she needs to be successful. Thank you so much, Ria. I'm so impressed by you.
Thank you.
So Ria, I think the thing that comes to my mind and on my heart as you talked about your succession plan and the idea that you're obviously going to continue to grow older and grow up and move on to bigger and better things. And I do think there's a need in the transition into college as much as there is in this youth movement that you've started. And so I don't know if you've given that any thought, but I think there is something there that still needs to be talked about, because watching college students navigate their own new path forward outside of their home, for example, where maybe some of those boundaries or rules or guidelines had been established, introducing different stressors, introducing different levels of comparison, and there is something there. Have you been asked to expand your scope in any way in that similar fashion, whether it's to the collegiate market or whether it's younger age ranges? Have you been asked at all through your interactions with families and communities about different ages than you're targeting today that could be of interest for consideration?
So we haven't been asked to, I guess, talk to people that are in college, but we have been asked to talk to seniors, which we have done, like 12th graders in high school as they're applying for applications, because your digital footprint is very important then, but also making sure that you have the proper education online, like on how to be safe online and how to act online, I think is very important at that age, especially as you are growing older. So that is an audience we have targeted, but not people in university. And I think that's a very unique perspective that we could explore. And I think in terms of younger audiences, we've talked to, I guess, as young as TK, but not much younger than that.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. I think Dr. Sharon has experience. I used to teach elementary school many moons ago. And, cell phones and online presence wasn't very prominent when I used to teach. But Dr. Sharon is more active in that education space today. And it's still very prominent. And I think I shared with you once, there's a young man I met through the same community that I met the Digital for Good folks, who really was also bullied online. And they took some swift action and helped write legislation in the state of Virginia. There is a lot of work to be done, and the work continues. Maisha was at an event very recently for bullying. And so I'm so grateful that you do this work. I hope that we can share this broadly and widely and get some others inspired to help you move the needle forward. It sounds like you would do some really good work with some additional funding. So let's see what we can do to help you raise some of those funds over the next several weeks before the end of the year.
That would be great. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Ria, this has been so amazing, so informative, and so necessary. So thank you. Thank you. And I just want you to give you this space to share how our audience can connect with you, how they can follow you, and how, if there are organizations out there ready to throw you some money, how they can help fund this amazing venture that you have here. So please take the time to share.
Yes, so our website is cyberforyouth.org, and it's just cyber and then FOR youth.org. All of our information is there, including our contact information, our donation page. And I would say a message I would take to you is, even if you're not youth, treating online spaces like actual communities instead of content is very important. And I would recommend you to do that.
I love it. I love it. Ria, thank you so much for joining us today. Your passion, your leadership, and your commitment to creating safer digital spaces are nothing short of inspiring. It's incredible to see young leaders not only identifying a real need, but stepping up to meet it with purpose and vision, and that you have done. And we are cheering you on as you continue empowering young people to take control of their online words, and we can't wait to see what Cyber for Youth does next. So to our listeners, if today's conversation moved you, share this episode, follow Ria's work, and support the young change makers in your own communities. Ria, thank you again for sharing so brightly and reminding us that leadership has no age limit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And guys, we are so excited that you joined us for another episode. I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter.
I am Maisha B. Hoy.
And I'm Dawn Marie Bornheimer. As you navigate your leadership journey, remember that leading with purpose is not just a philosophy, but a commitment to making a positive impact.
Be like our guests and continue to lead, empower, inspire, and achieve.
And again, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your network and be sure to subscribe so you will never miss inspiring conversations that elevate leadership and purpose.
Until next time, lead with passion.
Lead with positive intention.
And by all means, continue to lead with purpose. Thank you. Thank you for joining the Leading with Purpose podcast. Please join us every Monday for a new episode.